Alright guys, such comic again today. Hope you're doing good and enjoying your day so far. We're just over 48 hours away from OpTic versus Falcons, the game that everyone is looking forward to, and Karma, the coach of the team, has given some insight to how the scrims and the practice of OpTic have gone over the last few days, and it doesn't exactly sound spectacular. Karma says the scrims have been up and down. He is entertaining the possibility the Falcons could beat them. A little bit concerning for OpTic, but of course they've still got a couple of days of improvements still to go, but it's not really the Falcon series, it's what happens after that, assuming that they win. Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into today. This is the OpTic Falcons discussion as we were having the other day. Trey says he's getting a Falcons tattoo. People were joking that it wouldn't be the worst tattoo that he's got, but if Falcons beat OpTic, that's going to be happening. It's kind of tough to call. I mean, I don't know, there's been a lot of comments I've seen on the channel over the last few days, people saying, oh, Falcons have a chance in this one. I don't know, I can't buy it. Logically, I can't really make the numbers add up in my head that it's actually going to be happening, but I guess you can't entirely rule out the possibility, and we will see in just a second what Karma has to say on it, because Crim6, of course, was giving his take yesterday. We saw that in depth, his discussion that he doesn't, he basically predicts behind the curve, and this shouldn't be much of a surprise, but I do think there's a tendency right now for Pred and OpTic, and it's not just Pred, and it's not just Kenny, like, the issues are more widespread than that, but Pred, especially when the team is struggling, does seem to go into like a default mode when he just kind of, runs around and plays for kills. And that can work in 8s and stuff, but in competitive play, in match play, certainly against top teams, that is going to be a challenge. Krim said you've got to get this guy a perimeter that he can't leave around the hard point. It's making Dashy and Kenny potentially somewhat uncomfortable as well, but also Kenny's got to shoot better, he's got to put himself in better positions. So there was lots of talk of that from Krim, and as you guys were suggesting in the comments, could Krim come in, once a week on kind of like an ad hoc basis as a temporary coach? Not to say Karma and JP aren't doing a good job over there, but when you've got Krim associated with OpTic in some capacity, you might think there's some value to be had in at least getting him in the call every so often. That was what Accuracy got leaked doing. I don't know how much time Accuracy spent with the team in person going into last year's World Championship, but it was leaked that Accuracy was in the scrim call with OpTic on a couple of occasions. Maybe that's all it takes to have another voice in the room, but as Dashy says, maybe he needs to put his ring on in the next series if he actually wants to win a map right now, but, against Falcons, theoretically, shouldn't have too much difficulty. But look, beyond the Falcons, and we will discuss Karma's perspective on that, because he's not taking it for granted, which is good. Like, you shouldn't take any series for granted, and especially with the way that OpTic have played recently, they can't go into that series thinking, oh, we're going to smoke these guys, no issue, because, to be honest, one of Falcons' more competitive series was when they played OpTic in the qualifiers before. You guys remember Exnid dropped 52 on the Vault hardpoint, and they nearly won it. Okay, after that, OpTic pretty much comfortably won the series. But it wasn't, that map 1 was maybe the closest Falcons have even got this season to winning a map. And yes, it took Exnid dropping 52, winning a hardpoint map, I mean to say. So if OpTic come in, basically thinking it's a free win, which they shouldn't feel going 0-9, and they've lost their last 12 maps in a row, right? So they shouldn't feel like it's going to be an easy 3-0. But then again, as we were mentioning on the show the other day, are OpTic going to be sitting down for the next few days watching Falcons VOD, right? Like, are they going to be prepping hard to counter-strat Falcons in Search and Destroy? Doubtful. I think in some sense, no disrespect intended to Falcons, but that would almost be demoralizing to the OpTic guys who are spending this whole week prepping for this match. OpTic would prefer to be prepping for Ultra, right? Looking at what they've done, what maps we should play against them, what they've looked like in Search. That's the way that OpTic probably will and probably should approach it, frankly. But it does mean that not all of the focus can be on that Falcons series, but they do have to take things step by step. Now, the other reason why OpTic were getting roasted a bit on this yesterday was this. Now, I imagine this was planned for some time, but still, it's obviously got people talking, hasn't it? So there's a $10,000 OpTic 3v3 tourney on this game Spectre Divide. So free-to-play 3v3 tactical shooter, right? So, I imagine this is a pipeline plan that OpTic have had, and it's Team Scump, Team Formal, and Team Shotzzy. So tonight, there is going to be a tournament which Shotzzy's going to be playing in on a completely different game that isn't COD. And, I mean, look, as I say, this is probably planned, but for the OpTic fans, it's come at a pretty inopportune time, because Shotzzy tweets this out yesterday, see you tomorrow, gonna dominate the new game. YouTube/OpTic Gaming, and yeah, 6 p.m. Central Time. So look, it's very plausible that OpTic can still get in a couple of sets of scrims before Shotzzy goes to play this. But still, people are going to say, you guys should be watching VOD, you guys should be putting in an extra set of scrims, whereas instead, Shotzzy's playing in this tournament, right? And it's just, you know, part of the things as it is at OpTic, and they've got to bring in some money. And I don't really think this should be that much of a big deal, but of course, you know, if you have a look at the replies, teams in the trenches falling apart, and you're playing this instead, the season's short, you know, we've got replies like this, like Owen and I doing side quests. All right, let's just quickly scroll up for that. So, you know what I'm saying, right? This is the way that people are going to talk about it, and this is what Karma has to say. And I appreciate the honesty and the openness here from Karma, right? Just to say, yeah, it's not all looking great. We should be winning scrims better than we are, because, you know, OpTic typically have been a pretty good scrim team over the years, and that probably should be the case again this year, and it certainly seemed to be the case a while ago when OpTic were full of confidence. Now that's less true. Karma even makes it clear from his own perspective that if you watch other teams on the map, they simply look more cohesive than OpTic do. And I'm sure that Karma knows what the team need to do to fix that, whether he can get that across to the team and whether they can implement those ideas. You know, I'm sure that these guys aren't idiots, right? Like, Kenny was brought in and was successful to some extent last year, certainly when it really mattered at the World Championship, in helping implement a system that would be able to win and win big. Whereas right now, they're maybe struggling to find their identity again, certainly on this game. So Karma streamed for the first time in a while, and of course he was quizzed relentlessly in the chat about what was going on at OpTic. So he made a couple of points. I think, you know, the interesting one to me is that he says scrims have been up and down, because, look, I imagine Karma's going to be super honest, but let's say they were doing well in scrims, and well in scrims usually means splitting maps to slightly positive, because there's a feeling that if you're splitting maps, then that's good, because you're learning from the ones that you lose, whereas if you're saying, oh, well, it's up and down, kind of implies that against the good teams, you might be kind of, you know, getting slammed a bit more, and then maybe when you scrim Falcons, it's okay, but they're probably not scrimming Falcons because they play them in just a couple of days' time. And even he's entertaining the possibility that losing to Falcons is not out of the realms of possibility. I think this is probably a good mentality, but it's still a bit concerning for OpTic fans.
Y'all gotta win out to make winners. Dude, I don't even know at this point. Honestly, we're at the point I'm not even thinking about whether we can make winners or not, to be honest. I'm worried about the next match, and the one after that, and then the one after that, and then we see. I mean, there's no way it's looking good. And you get top 8. I mean, this is where, like, you gotta look at schedule shit. I don't know. Well, we fucking, I mean, it ain't good. It looks possible. I mean, if we do good in the major, or the minor, I don't remember how many points it is. There's the minor not even count. That's just champs, right? Yeah, we probably have to win out. And to be honest, I mean, be honest, it's fucking not an easy schedule. It's not an easy schedule. Got fucking Grim Reapers. Then we got these fucking guys. Am I tweaking? Why does it only have 2 matches left? Oh, and Toronto. Yeah, I mean, like, I thought we have 4 games left. 1. And Thieves and Toronto. I mean, like, hey, there's a world where it's possible, but it's looking, I mean, at this current pace, it's looking fucking grim, which really fucking sucks. 3 wins and a game 5 loss. That's crazy. Listen, when your team is 0-3 in the CDL, there's going to be a lot of questions. I haven't streamed in forever. I mean, scrims have been up and down. Scrims, we can win a map. We definitely can win a map. Sometimes we can even club people. But I mean, I think like everybody, especially with a team of our caliber, you should be winning, you know, I'd say majority of the time maps pretty convincingly. You watch all other teams play, and then let's not include Falcons in this. And it's not even a disrespect to them. I mean, we have to play them, and it would be fucking horrible if we were to somehow lose to them this weekend. But I'd say, I mean, you can, even from like an outside perspective, you watch other teams play and you watch us, and right now it's just like something's not adding up, you know? Like, I'm not stupid. You can look at the team that you guys don't think is the best, but is probably like, let's say, quote unquote, let's say for the sake of right now, us in Vegas are the worst. You look at like whatever you think is the third worst team, and honestly, if you even just look at the mini map, it probably looks way more controlled and shit than us.
And also there, then Karma's perspective on what their bracket is looking like, what the upcoming matches are looking like. He runs through the schedule and sees, you know, it's not looking great because they've started so poorly in map counts. I think his theory is correct. Take it a series at a time. Take it the series that's in front of you at that moment and see what you can do. Don't look too much at the bigger picture. And then, you know, the outcome should take care of itself if they win some of the matches they really should be winning against, let's say, Miami, Gentlemates, possibly Toronto, right, during the run of the qualifiers. Obviously, beating Miami is by no means guaranteed right now. They lost to them at the major when they were a better team with Hook than they are, it seems, today with Pred, certainly in this online environment. And Thieves, it's tough to imagine them winning that one right now because in terms of if you had to put together a power rankings, I think we'll look at one slightly later on today. Actually, we might as well just do it right about now. I think I've got it brought up. Yeah, here we go. This is what Breaking Point put together in terms of current power rankings in the season so far. FaZe and Thieves are considered to be, you guys may disagree with this ranking, but I think it's roughly okay that FaZe and Thieves are the S-tier teams. They're pretty much impossible to split. People have been predicting who's going to win the minor. Everyone realistically is saying it's either FaZe or Thieves, and it could go one way or the other. I think FaZe is still the marginal favourites because of the Search and Destroy. It's a best of 7 in the finals, but I guess we'll see. Ravens remarkably are in third, and I think, you know, they're justifiably in third, which is crazy. But yeah, fair play to Ravens given what they've done over the last few years, but they are considered, I think understandably, a B+ team. I don't think there's any team here that you could comfortably say is A tier, just behind FaZe and Thieves. And, you know, so Ravens, Surge, Rocker, Ultra, Cloud9, Heretics, even then Boston who have dropped down. But, you know, even those teams, certainly the B-tier teams, very, very difficult to separate, right? Like, you could take any number of these teams and have them play a match against each other right now, and I wouldn't really be able to tell you with certainty who's actually going to be winning it. But OpTic aren't even in the mix with that, and fair enough. I know that some people will say that OpTic should be even lower than this. But look, they're down in 10th according to the current setups. Falcons, of course, in the F for Falcons tier. And then Gentlemates, because they've been, I guess, terrible, maybe difficult to justify OpTic being below them, because OpTic obviously beat them at the major. But yeah, still intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Karma's going to take it a series at a time. OpTic are going to take it a series at a time. But the way that Karma speaks about the team, the issues they're having, the fact that scrims have been up and down, and sure, they can occasionally club teams, as in 100-point club teams, beat them convincingly, and they can win maps, right? He's saying, yeah, we can win a map in scrims. It's like, okay, great, right? Like, how is things actually going? Because, yeah, I'm not saying Karma is the type of coach to say, oh, we're frying in scrims, guys, like it's looking really good. But I think that he's pretty honest, like he's pretty straight up Karma. And if they were looking real good, they'd made substantial progress, I think we'd be hearing about it. Whereas clearly to some degree, Karma kind of thinks it's maybe same old a little bit with OpTic at the moment, and they've got lots of room for improvement still. Kenny also has been complete radio silence since this tweet, which I think is possibly the right way to do it. But I also do wonder with OpTic, how much time are they currently putting in, especially with this drama around this tournament that OpTic are playing at this evening, or at least Shotzzy's team is playing in this evening. What are they doing in terms of their day? Because when FaZe was struggling over the winter, Christmas, New Year break, they were running 3 scrims a day. They were running 2 pro scrims, 1 challenger scrim every single day as they look to improve. Maybe OpTic need to spend a bit more time out of the game, just playing might not be the solution. It might be more VOD review, might be more theoretical discussions about the way that they want to approach things, might be more team chemistry building, who knows. But I just wonder how they're splitting their day, because when FaZe are in trouble, they put in more work than anybody else did, and they got themselves out of trouble, and they became the best team. I don't think it's impossible for OpTic to do the same thing, but they've got to put in the time, and I'm not sure how they're approaching it right now. Like, are they doing extra scrims? Are they doing extra, you know, other things as well? Or are they confident that they'll just kind of figure themselves out? But very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.